Hey, Tom.
Uh,
Hello.
How you doing this afternoon?
Oh, real good.
All right. We're getting started in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, wait. So you are now live, and I've made Brandon co-host, and you host.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very.
Thank you.
See you, Harry. Bye. All righty. So where are you calling in from, Tom?
Columbia, Maryland.
Columbia, Maryland. Okay, I'm down in just outside of Wilmington, North Carolina, so not too far away.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to get a couple of things set up here while we're waiting for the rest of the people to come in.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Bruce. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Welcome.
How are you? Thank you.
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good.
Hi, Kira.
Hi, it's Kyra.
Kyra, okay. Welcome, Kyra.
I was waiting to get in, and I had to wait until the countdown was finished to say the class started.
Yeah. It waits until the actual start time before it lets you in.
Okay.
So, yep, that's all normal. Is this your first class?
Second.
Second one. Okay. All right. Great. Welcome.
November class.
All righty. Good to have you. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
And see Brenda. Hi, Brenda.
Oh,
ग्यारह लोग आ गए हैं, मैसेज फेंक देना चाहिए। बड़े लोग आ गए हैं यार। यार कहीं पे मेरी 1 बजे क्लास है, फिर मेरी 1:30 बजे क्लास है।
वो एक आधे घंटे वाली तो
कौन सी?
So I'm going to go ahead and call your names, and if you can hear me, go ahead and just unmute and say hi. I want to make sure that everybody's microphone is working and I can hear you. So when you have questions.
hello, hello.
Hey, Joanne. Welcome.
Hi.
All right. And I see Janet. You there?
Hello, I'm here.
Hey, Janet. Diane?
Hi there.
Hi, Diane. And see Jean.
Hi.
Hi, Jean. Welcome. Let's see, who am I missing now? Mary Lou?
Hello.
Welcome, Mary Lou. There you are. Right. Who else? I think a couple other people came in. Dolores, can you hear me? I see your mute is off, Dolores, but I didn't hear you if you said something. Oops. Can you hear me, Dolores? Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol. Good to see you again. And there's Pearl coming in. Welcome. Can you hear me, Pearl? Okay. All right. Yep. Just go ahead and unmute and say hi. Make sure you're. Want to make sure everybody knows how to unmute.
I hear you.
Oh, there you go. All right, great. All right. I think I've heard from everybody. We got a few more people, so we're going to wait just another minute or so, and then we'll get started with some of the housekeeping issues. In fact, we're going to go ahead and get started with some of the housekeeping now. Give other people a couple more minutes to get in, but let me go ahead and share my screen. And move your pictures around over here. Okay, so I can see everyone. A few more people have come in. Annie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Annie.
Hi.
And there's Josie. Hey, Josie. Yep. All right. I will be.
Hi, Wade.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Josie. Takes a minute. I'm going to be muting everybody. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone now, and I'll be muting again whenever I start to hear background noise or echoing or any other problems. So as you're asking questions, and hopefully you will ask questions, just remember to unmute yourself before you ask a question or make a comment. And you don't need to raise your hand or anything. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question when you have one. Let's see, Georgianne.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah. So you come in, and looks like. Let's see. I'm going to also open the chat. So if anyone is having problems with their microphone, I think I've heard from most of the people so far, but the chat will be open if you need to use that to reach me. And Brandon from our Get Set Up TA group is going to be in the class, and he's going to be monitoring that as well. So if you're having problems with your microphone or need to get in touch with us via the chat, you can use that. But if your microphone's working, just go ahead and ask your questions out loud. That way everybody else can hear your questions, and I'll hear them on a timely basis as well.
I already have one. Just when you're doing your spiel, our Baltimore County Department of Aging puts out a bunch of senior classes, and they pop into my Google Docs, and I just go in and it's there. And I don't understand how it pops into my Google Docs. I mean, I don't know if I gave my email. I just don't understand, like, it's not going to my Gmail account. It just pops into Google Docs and she updates it. I don't understand how that works.
Okay, well, she is sharing that with you, and I'll talk about that briefly today, and we can probably get that. And there's another whole class on sharing, but that's what it sounds like. So when we get to sharing, see if that answers your question, and if not, we can dig a little deeper. Okay, sure. Okay, let's see. I think that's everything. Okay, I see Louise. Your mic's not working. Okay, that's fine. Just put your comments in the chat, and if I miss something that's in there, Brandon will let me know that there's something waiting in the chat for me to respond to.
I do have one question. Is this going to be Google Docs for Mac or Windows, or is it different on iPhone?
It is, well, I'll talk about that. That's a good question. I have a slide on that, so we'll talk about that in just a minute, because yep, that's a good question. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I do want to welcome everybody to the class. This is Google Docs Basics, the intro class for Google Docs. I do want to thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoyed the class. My name is Wade Yarbrough, and I'll be the guide for your class today. Briefly about me, I'm from a small town called Mason, Tennessee. It's just outside of Memphis. I have a PhD in psychology and have taught psychology at a number of colleges and universities, but spent most of my work career installing and training users on hospital information systems. So I've always kind of been one foot in technology and one foot in psychology. But what I love about teaching at Get Set Up is that you're here because you want to learn the material, not because your employer told you had to take the class or it's required for your degree. And that certainly makes a big difference. And that's what we try to do at Get Set Up, is to create an environment where you can learn things you want to learn along with other people interested in the same topic. You can interact with each other and of course interact with the guide. And that's the environment that we like to set up at Get Set Up. The session is being recorded, and you can request a copy of that recording after class by sending an email to help@getsetup.io. I'm going to put that in the chat as well. Because there's some other scenarios where you might want to use that email address. So if you don't have that already in your email contacts, go ahead and write that down or copy it. We are also live streaming the class today, and we do want to welcome everyone that's joining us via live stream. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed the class as well. But we do want to suggest that to get the full Get Set Up experience, you should register for the classes. And that way you can interact with the other learners and interact with the guide and get the full Get Set Up experience. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the specific products or vendors that we work with. We are purely trainers. So let's talk about the agenda for today. So by the end of the class, you should know how to find and open Google Docs, how Google Docs compares to Microsoft Word. The assumption is that most people have at least a passing familiarity with Microsoft Word. So we will draw a lot of comparisons between Google Docs and Microsoft Word. We'll show you how to create a new blank document or start from a template. And we'll also go over some of the basic editing and formatting options. So let's talk briefly about Google Docs versus Microsoft Word. So Google Docs runs primarily as a web browser app. It means that you can get to it from any device that will run a browser. So getting back to, I think it was Georgianne's question, you can open a browser on a Mac, you can open a browser on a Windows device, on a tablet, anything that has a browser, you can run Google Docs. Whereas with Microsoft, it is a program that has to be installed and runs primarily on Microsoft Windows and Macs. Google Docs is completely free. Word is part of Microsoft 365, is how most people get access to Word, which does cost $69.99 a year. You get a lot more than Word for that. You get all of the Microsoft Office products, as well as 1 terabyte of storage with OneDrive, but there is a cost. And Microsoft Word has more features than Google Docs does. It's been around a long time. They've had a lot of time to develop the product. So there may be some things that Microsoft Word does that Google Docs doesn't. But for most individuals, I've never bumped into anything in Microsoft Word that in Google Docs that I really needed that is only available with Word. If you're doing some more complicated corporate stuff, then you might bump into some problems. I'm going to go through this background material rather quickly, but please do stop if I go over something too fast or you have a question about it, just unmute and ask away. So the next question that's related is, how do I get access to Google Docs? So you have to have a Google account is step one to get to it through any of the ways we're going to talk about. And it is free, and I'll show you how to get an account in just a second. And then there's 2 ways to get it. One is from a browser. So we've mentioned that already, and that's what I'm going to be using today. That is really where you get the full feature version of Google Docs and of all the Google apps, is running it in a browser window in a tab. But you can download an app for your smartphone or tablet. Just go to the App Store and download Google Docs from the App Store. But the navigation is going to be different and the functionality is going to be different. Some of the things you can do in the browser, you can't do in the app. So for today, if you're not using a browser, you may just want to watch my screen and see how it works, as opposed to trying to follow along on the app itself. Okay. So any questions before we move into the application itself? If not, I'm gonna narrow this down. And
I don't know
oh,
if it's, I don't know if it's too soon to ask the questions that I have, but I have a lot of documents that are Word documents. Can I open them up in Google Doc?
you can, and I will show you that. Yeah.
And the other thing is when you're in a document in Google Docs, can you save it in another format like a PDF?
You can, yes, and I'll show you that. They're
Okay,
both
good.
in the slides. So, yep,
Good.
we got you covered on both of those. So, all right. Okay, so let's start in terms of getting to it via the browser, as we mentioned. And just a second, I need to make sure my phone is turned off so we don't get any calls during the class. Okay, there we go. So you just go to www.google.com. If you don't have an account, you can sign up for an account from this website. If you have an account and you're not logged in, then you would need to sign in from here. Once you're signed in, you should see your picture or your initials up here in this upper right-hand corner. Now that's the Google account icon. You can have more than one Google account. I have 4 actually, but I'm actually logged into 2 different accounts. You can go, toggle back and forth among multiple accounts. I'm using my personal account today for this class. And then once you're signed in, this is the app that takes you to all the different Google apps that are available with your Google account. Sometimes it's called the 9-dot icon. Some people call it the waffle. It looks a little bit like a waffle. If I click that, it will show me all the different apps that are available. And we do have a class called Introduction to Google Apps where they go over all these different apps, what they are, a little bit about how they work. But for today, we're just going to go to Google Docs and click here. And that will take me to the Google Docs homepage. So this basically brings me into Google Docs. Now, once I get here, there's 2 different things I can do. I can start a new document, or I can work on an existing document. The home page is broken into those 2 sections, start a new document. And then down here are all the existing documents that I've already worked on. We're going to start at the top, because if you're new to Google Docs, you won't have anything in here. 2 ways to start a new document. One is just to start with a blank document. And if I click here, that's what I'll get. It opens up a blank document. I start from scratch. If I want to go back home, and I do, I'm not going to put anything in here. I'm just going to click here. So this icon always takes you back to the home page where we just were. So this is back to the home page. My other option is to start with a template. And lots of different programs use templates, so you may be familiar with those. But what a template does is it lays out the document with appropriate fonts and font sizes and settings to make it easier for you. You basically fill in the blanks, replace the text that's in there with your own text. It shows you some of the ones you've looked at most recently here. But if you click Template Gallery at the top, it opens up the full template gallery. They're broken into categories based on the type of template. These are all resumes. So you can see there's several different templates for a resume if you're doing a resume. There's also several different templates for a letter, depending on what you want it to look like. And you can look at most of these. You can kind of see from here the basic look. Some of them are more business letter. These are more personal letters. This is an informal letter. And then there's lots of other things, some personal ones, work-related templates, etc. You can look at these in more detail as you have time. So just to kind of show you how this works, I'll start from a template. So I'm going to click on this letter template. When I click on it, it's going to take a copy of that template and create a document in my Google Drive. It has the same name, but this isn't the template now. This is a copy of the template that it's created and put here. The first thing you're probably going to want to do is to change the name. And I typically, if it's a letter, who the letter is to. And then you just start changing the template. So instead of your name here, you would put your name. And down here, you put the person that it's really going to, etc. And this is all just gobbledygook, but it's just going to shows you the formatting. So you would delete this and start typing in your actual letter. I can return to the home at any point. You notice there's no save button. You don't save in Google. Google saves automatically for you. So I can just click here. It brings this document back into my list of available documents that I can work on. Questions so far? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Ken, if you have questions. Oh, yeah.
If you don't save, if it's going to save it automatically, it saves it by the title that you give it, correct?
Yes, that
So-
document title. Mhm.
So if I have something that I want to just tailor a little bit, in order to do like a save as, I would just change the title, correct?
You could. And in fact, I'll give you an example of that since you brought that up. What I have is a template. So I started with that letter template I just showed you.
Mhm.
And then I filled in all my information in here. So now if I wanted to create and send something, I wouldn't have to put this in every time. So I could come into here and could do, as you said, I could do a file and save it. And then and rename it. Make a copy is the wording in Google instead of save as. Microsoft calls it save as. Google calls it make a copy. So if I did this, it would literally make a copy. But now I could change this to be letter to Billy Jones. And now I say, okay, so it's now queued up a new document for me. The name is letter, but I don't want the word template in here. So let's take that out. So you can edit it up here as well. And now that's ready to go. I would start editing this one. So I'll go back to my Google Home and now there should be two of them there. Letter to Billy Jones, the template that I worked on, and then the letter to Brenda Smith. So these are the three documents I've touched so far today.
May I ask, please?
Uh-huh.
Are these documents saved in Google Drive or does Google Docs have its own little cloud by itself?
No, it is in Google Drive. Yeah. All the Google apps use Google Drive. Okay. Right. So down here are all the different documents that I have touched, done something with, at least opened. There's several ways you can filter and manage these because initially you're only going to have 3 or 4, but over time you may have a whole lot, like I've got a whole lot. And so there's different ways to filter and manage this list. One is by who owns it. And you can say only ones that are owned by me. And me over here says who owns these. Now, people can share documents with you, and I think this is getting into, I think it was Carol was asking about this. So you can say, show me documents not owned by me. So these are documents owned by somebody else. This is the person or company that owns those documents. They have shared it with me, so it's now in my list of documents I can edit. This little icon here says that it was shared with me, so I know that it's a shared document. I also know by virtue of the fact that it's someone else's name there. Or I can say it to show everything owned by anyone. And I can see ones that are owned by me or owned by someone else. If I've shared it, it will say owned by me, but it'll have that little icon showing that I've shared it with someone else. And we're going to talk more about sharing later in the class. And and we have another whole hour-long class on sharing. So I'm not going to get too deep into it today, since it can become a fairly deep topic, and we do have a full class on that. Okay, let me see. Save a computer doc. Are you talking about saving a document to your computer instead of to Google Drive? And if you are, I will show you how to do that. That's coming up. So this is one filter, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to leave this at owned by anyone for now. You can also sort it different ways. So you can sort it by last opened by me, last modified by me, last modified by anyone if it's a shared document, or by title. Sometimes you just want an alphabetical list. And so you can create an alphabetical list. I usually have mine set to last opened by me, but that's your choice there. And also you'll notice there's a triple dot over here. And if you click that, this is where you can rename a document, remove a document, or open it in a new tab. I'm going to click this one. So what it does, I was in this tab before. Now I created a new tab with this document in it. Sometimes this is handy to have different documents in different tabs. Maybe I'm going to copy and paste my information from this letter to another one. So I could just do here, copy, come over here, have a different one open here. I got the Brenda Smith one here that I never put that in. So I can paste this here, and I'm just going to do a control. Oops, that didn't work. Here's a handy little, also this is undo. And so I didn't do a clean copy over there, but you get the idea. You can copy and paste things back and forth from one document to another. Let me try this again. Let's do it copy.
It doesn't use Control S, right? You can't do that. Saving.
It does use the control function. So I just did a Control V to copy it. It does some of the same keyboard controls as Microsoft, not identical. All right, so I'm going to go back home. Now, if I'm done with that, when I copy what I needed, I don't need this open anymore. I can just delete that tab and keep working in this tab. If I click on one here, it'll open it in the same tab. So if you click on it, it opens in the same tab. If you want to put it in a different tab, you have to use either the triple dot, or you can right click anywhere and it'll give you the same three options. Questions about any of that so far? Covered a lot of material here. Okay, so there's one more control on the screen I haven't talked about yet for those of you that are observant, and that is this one over here. And when you hover over it, in fact, if you hover over any of these, it'll tell you what they do. But so this one says open file picker, not very explanatory, but what this is, and somebody asked about this, if I wanted to bring a Word document into Google Docs and work on it in Google Docs, this is how I do it. This is where I go and pick a file that's not in this list. So I'm going to click this, and it first takes me to Google Drive. It's Google. It assumes I want to stay in Google Drive. Most of the time you do. So I could go grab a document that's in my Google Drive that I've never worked on before, because these were the list there is only ones that I have worked on. Maybe I downloaded something or somebody sent me something, whatever. But if you want to get something outside of Google Drive, it gives you that option. Anytime, anywhere in Google, you see the word upload, it means you can bring in something from outside of Google. So I'm going to click upload, and then I'm going to click select a file from your device. I'm on a Windows laptop, so it's going to open File Explorer. And I can go and grab anything that I can get to from File Explorer. So anything on my physical laptop. I can also go to any of the cloud drives that I have access to. So this is OneDrive, which is Microsoft's version of Google Drive. But I can go into here, which is where I taught a class last semester. And I can grab a Word document out of here. Here's my syllabus. You can see this is a Word document. Double click that and you can see it is uploading it into Google Drive and then formatting it as a Google Doc. And there's that Word document, which is now a Google Doc. I can go in and edit this. So this was from last semester. I can change this to be spring instead of fall, change the year to be 2021, etc.
Do you know if the LibreOffice Write docs just go automatically into Google Docs or no?
The only ones that come over clean, I think, is Word, or it's one of the universal conversion formats. I mentioned that there's some things that Word does that Google doesn't, and I use this document on purpose because here's one of them. If I open this in Word, I can check these little boxes. So if this class was changing from online only to Tuesday and Thursday, I could just click those boxes. That doesn't convert over, but what I can do is I can just get rid of that and say Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it works just as well, not quite as slick maybe. But if you convert something, you need to kind of scroll through it and check and make sure it converted clean and do a little cleanup if it didn't. That's about the only thing in this document, and this is a fairly complex document that didn't convert over clean. And again, it's now a Google Doc, so I don't have to save it. I can just click home, and it's now in my list of documents that I can work on some more when I'm ready. Questions? Okay.
I don't have the last open by me, that section up there with the little triangle, the caret pointing down. I don't have it. I just have last open by me, but there's no function to it.
Oh, it's over here under A to Z.
Oh,
This is how you set it. This is telling you which one of those you picked.
oh, okay,
So if
okay.
I change this to last modified by me,
Then-
it tells me last modified by me. So that
Oh,
tells you which one you've picked. This is where you pick it in the A through Z.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Good question. Okay. So let's open a document and actually look at editing documents now. We've spent a good bit of time talking about managing documents, but a lot of this is fairly unique to Google and different than Word. Luckily, when you get into the documents, it is not that different. So I'm going to open this letter that I've worked on before. So if you're a Microsoft person, you're familiar with the Microsoft ribbon, which is up here. Google has a similar metaphor, but it's not nearly as complex as the Microsoft Word ribbon. It does have the tabs, and for each tab, you can click on it to show you all the functions. So these are all the editing functions, all the view functions, insert functions, formatting functions, etc. So it works similarly to Microsoft. One thing I like about it is it gives you a more robust shortcut bar. And so these are all the different, or a subset of these items, the ones you use the most. You'll notice a triple dot. Again, anytime you see a triple dot, you need to click it. And these are additional items in the shortcut bar. The reason it can't show all of them is because I don't have the full document displayed. If I was looking at full screen, they would all be here so I could see them. But since I have it narrowed down so I can see my cheat sheet over here, they won't all fit. So it just wraps around underneath. So let's go into File. And we're going to come back into this one several times. But again, I wanted to mention just a couple of things. We've already mentioned one or two. Here's make a copy, which is save as in Microsoft World. I mentioned that Google does all the saving. And one of the nice things about that, it does version all the things that it saves. So you have a version history here. So if I want to see the version history, here's all the different versions of this document that it saves. So I can go back in time to see what it looked like on December 28th. And maybe I want to restore this version as the one I want to work on now. Maybe there were some mistakes above, or I just want to grab it from a different state and time and rename it and do something else with it. But I can pick any one of these versions and say, restore this version, and it will bring that version up that I can work on or do a save as or whatever. So it keeps all that history for you. If you're like me in Microsoft, I would typically put a V1 after the first version and a V2 after the next version. I'd have 5 or 6 versions of the same document. Google does that for you. And we call it just a couple other things here. Again, we're going to come back and talk about some more of these, but here's where you can move it to trash if you want to delete something. And printing is down here. Okay. So let's go talk about editing the documents. Any questions about anything I mentioned there before I move on? Because I'm going to change template or change documents. Yeah, Bruce, go ahead and unmute.
Can you save that to your desktop? Like make a copy and then put it on your desktop and will come out as
Yep.
Word or something, or like
Yep.
what happens?
Yep, we're going to go there.
Okay.
That's a future slide. I've got that covered in another slide, so hang on, we'll get there. Right. So I'm going to go back home again, and what I want to do is to start with the template and show you how some of the editing works. So I'm going to grab this template and click here, mainly because it's got a picture in it. And I want to talk about editing pictures, but editing is going to feel really comfortable and familiar because it works like pretty much anything else you're using to edit. I can select some text and I can go in and change the color of the text. So if I don't like the red, I'd rather have it be blue. I can do that. If I don't like that font, I can pick a different font. Things you're probably familiar with already, you can copy and paste. This has bulleted items. If I want to change those to be numbered instead of bulleted, I can do that. It's a little hard for me to see, so maybe I'll bold it, make it bigger so I can see it. You can delete, obviously. So again, things work fairly consistently with what you're probably used to with other word processing documents or even editing text within an email. What is different is images. So I want to spend some time on that and we can answer any other questions you might have, but let's talk about images because that is a little different. So let's say these are my pancakes and I use this template and I've created my own, and oh, I forgot to change this. So I should probably call this Wade's pancake recipe, just so I've got know what it is. So I don't like this picture, so I'm going to delete it and insert a new picture. So I come up here to insert image. So I got several options. I'm going to start with search the web, because maybe I just want to get some stock picture off the internet. I haven't taken a picture with my camera of any pancakes. So I just click here and I'm going to search for pancakes. And it shows me all the stock images that are out there that are free, my favorite price. So I look for whichever ones I like. That one's kind of nice. I'll click that. Come down here and click insert. And it puts that picture in my document. Of course, I can do my normal things. I can resize it if I want to make it a different size, etc. Now I can also, if I do have a picture, I can, if it's in Google Photos, I can come down here to Google Photos and grab it from Google Photos. It's a little easier if you use Google Photos because it brings it right up into the screen for me. I don't have any pictures of pancakes, so I'll pick my puppy instead. You'll get the idea. So that's pulling something from Google Photos. The third option is to get it off of my device. So again, I said, anytime you see the word upload, it means you can pull it from your device. So I can come down here and let's see. Let's pull it off the device itself. I think I got some pictures here. Yep, I don't have pancakes, but I got pickles. So let's open that. And it'll put that picture here. Okay. Questions about that part? Again, should feel pretty comfortable. Okay, so let's cover a couple of things that have come up already. So I'm done with it and I'm showing it to a friend of mine and they say, wow, that's a great recipe. Can I get a copy of it? And I say, sure. But they say, I'm a Microsoft person. I don't do Google. Can you send it to me as a Word file? And I say, absolutely. So I'm going to click on File and come down here to Download. And here's my options for downloading. I can download it as a Word document, ODT format, open document format. If you're used to these, you can do it as an RTF. And somebody's asking about importing and exporting. So you could download something as RTF format. And then if you use a different word processor that will open an RTF, that's how you can go back and forth between them. If I want to make it a PDF, I can do that. But in this case, he wanted it as a Word document. So I'm going to select Word document. It defaults to saving the file. I could also click here and open it in Word if it's something, but I don't want to open it in Word myself. I want to save it. So I'm going to give it to someone else. So I'm just going to say, okay. And by default, it downloads it into my download folder. And this is probably opened on my other screen. It has, so let me drag this over here. But it's now in my downloads on my device. And there it is, Wade's Pancake Recipe 412 in Word format. They're now separate documents. Obviously, he can change this document, doesn't impact my document at all. They're separate. Questions about that? Okay, let's carry the analogy a little bit further. Another person's looking at it as well, and they say, yeah, I want a copy too, but I am a Google person. So can you give it to me that way as a Google document? And to do that, I'm going to go up here to share. So this is how you can share your documents with someone else. And if you hover over this, it'll tell you the current status. Right now it's private. Only I can look at it. But if I click share, I can change that. And so here I can actually indicate who I want to share it with. And if it's somebody that is in my contact list, my Google contacts, I can just select the person from here. If I want to share it with another person, I can start putting that in there, and I can share it with myself at my other address, but I'm just going to share it with the one person here. Stop that. Okay, with one person. If I wanted to share it with Jim Watinsky, I'll pick a second person because I'm not going to send it. So, but I pick the people I want to share it with. And then I determine what can they do with that file of mine that I'm giving them access to, because I am giving them access to that file on my Google Drive. So I can say they can edit it. They can comment, but not edit the text itself, or they can just look at it. You know, so in this case, he wanted a copy so he could go in and edit it and modify it, and it would be his pancake recipe. So I would make him a viewer, then he could do a file, save a copy, and rename it as Bob's Pancake Recipe and make it his changes to that copy. He can't mess up my copy. If we're going to work on this together, maybe this is a document that you're working collaboratively with some other people on, I would make that person an editor. They can now edit the document at the same time I'm editing it. So sharing it is pretty easy. How this whole editing thing works and in collaboration, who's changed what, who can tell who's changed what, who can override whose changes. That's more complicated. We got a whole class on that that I'll mention at the end of this class. So if you want to get deep into the sharing, we got another whole hour-long class. But I'm going to make it simple. I'm just going to say you can view it, you can't change it, and I can type a message in here. And hit send, and it will give that person a link to my recipe. It will show up on that person's homepage, which I think Carol or somebody was asking about this. That's how something can end up on your computer. Questions on this one? I'm not going to send this. I'm going to just cancel this. And okay, so that was the main thing I was going to share on. Here's the name of that class. I've got it, I think, on another slide as well, but it's called Sharing and Collaborating with Google Tools. It's the name of the class that gets into the sharing. We got time for a few questions about anything I've covered, or if you want to, or anything else you have questions about.
How do you create file folders in Google Docs?
You can't create folders in Google Docs. You do that from Google Drive. Now I can move something from one folder to another. And so I can go into File and do a move. And actually, I've never done this, but it looks like you can create a new folder. Okay, so you can create a folder in your Google Docs from here, or I can just move it into a pre-existing folder. So if I want to move it into my JWI personal folder, I can just click here and it'll move that. But it looks like I can create a whole new folder, call it recipes. And move it there. So it's now moved it to another folder in my Google Drive. If I want to see what folder it's in my Google Drive, I can do that by coming here and going to Document Details. And it'll tell me the location. It's in my Recipes folder.
And
so it does interact with Google Drive to some extent.
How did you find the document details again?
Sure. File.
Under File. Oh, okay.
Document Details.
Okay.
And it tells you the owner, last time it was modified, when it was created, as well as where it lives.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do that again about how you actually created the folder? I didn't catch everything.
Sure. And I was trying to figure it out as I was doing it. But if you go into File and Move, this is how you can move things around in Google Drive. So you just click Move. And I can now see into my Google Drive, so I can navigate around through my Google Drive looking for where I want to put it. But if I wanted to add a new folder that doesn't currently exist, I click this plus down here. And if you hover over it, it says New Folder. If I want to pick an existing one, I just click here and then say Move.
Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, wait. I have a question.
Yeah, Tom.
Can I create a document just using my voice instead of my hands?
I don't know of a way to do that with native Google. It may exist. There's probably an add-in out there somewhere. This is add-ons where you can bring in third-party tools that work with it.
Oh, okay.
There might be a way to do voice dictation, and I'm not going to swear there's not a native one. If there is, I haven't encountered it. I haven't found that one.
Okay.
But,
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm on the Google Docs, and, but I've lost the toolbar across the top that says file, all the way across. It says a bunch of different options. It no longer says that.
Are
Docs.
are you on the home screen? Click Docs Home again.
I'm on Docs, yeah.
Okay, and then maybe go back into it and see.
You mean just to open up something?
Yeah, just open something and see.
Okay, now I have file, edit, view,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
okay.
Not sure what, you probably clicked something somewhere that collapsed that, but
Uh-huh.
yep, just going out and coming back in usually will fix it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Got time for another question or two. Anybody else has any questions?
I'm working on a Mac and I'm used to working on an iPhone. And it's very convenient because you can just go to your iPhone, or you can just go to your you could find your waffle very easily. You can, it's an app. But now on this Mac, I have to always go to a browser, and I can't just get to my Gmail by going down to the dock and clicking on something. I have to go to a browser first and then go to Google Docs. You search for Google on the browser, and then it'll show me the waffle. And is that the only way I can get into things? There's no way I can just download a like an icon like you do on your iPhone. You just have an iPhone or an app, a picture of an app.
I don't know. I'm not a Mac person, so I'm not sure. And with Windows, you can create a shortcut to a particular browser window, but I don't know on the Mac if you can do the same thing. We do have a Mac class. The person who teaches that class would probably know, but I don't, or unless there's another Mac person in the class that knows the answer to that. But that would be a Mac function, not a Google function.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Last question. Anybody else? One more last question?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Carol. We'll take
Her
both
go
of them.
because mine was more like how to make a shortcut, so she can go.
Okay, because shortcuts are not part of Google. That would be either a Windows or a Mac function. Yeah. So who was that? Was that Lisa? Who else was asking?
Yes. Hi, I just wanted to know why would you choose Google Docs over Word? Is it if you didn't have Word?
Good question. For me personally, when I've gone with different ones, and in this case, Get Set Up, the company uses Google. And so, I had to learn it when I came here. I had not used Google before I started working with Get Set Up. I'd worked with companies that always use Microsoft, so that was what I had used. Other people tell me that their kids all use Google or their grandkids use Google, so they want you to use it. And a lot of schools do use Google now. In fact, the college where I taught, also uses Google. So lots of times it's somebody else kind of, tells you need to go use it. And you can use both, so you don't have to use one or the other. So you can actually go from Apple to Google to Microsoft. But that's why I've gone back and forth and what I've heard from other people. So it's not like, one is necessarily better. Now, some people go because it's free and they don't want to pay the $70 for Microsoft 365 anymore. Maybe they had it from their company and they retire. They have to pick up that cost and they don't use it enough to justify it. So they switch over to Google is another reason I've heard.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going.
If with that document where you transferred it over and it did not have the check boxes in Google Docs, if you then made a copy and downloaded it back as a Word, would that have that functionality restored?
Nope, it would be gone because I deleted that in the one that I've got here now, so that no longer exists in this version. It's been deleted, so it would come back with Tuesday and Thursday.
No, but if you hadn't deleted it and just left it and left the boxes.
That's a good question. I don't know. I've never tried that one. If you just bring it in and change some other stuff, but don't change that and send it back, is a good question. I'm curious about that one. I'll test that and put it in the email. Shoot.
Wade, would you be able to pull up an earlier version?
Yeah, you can do that. So that's what I'm going to do after class. I don't have time to do that now, so I'll do that after class and put it in the email. But yeah, you can go into here and go into the versions and go find the version, hopefully that was first brought in, which is this one, before I deleted those. So this still has them. So I'm going to go back and restore that version, but that's going to take several minutes, and we don't have several minutes. So I'll test that and let you all know what happened. Okay. Because we do need to, got about 6 minutes left, and I need to get through the closing. And in case anybody's trying to get to another class, I don't want to make you late to your next class. All right. So that's the end of the class itself. I do want to thank you for attending and hope you enjoyed the class. And if you are a social media person, we appreciate you sharing your experiences on social media. And if you want to share your experiences, but you're not a social media person, you can send them to liz@getsetup.io, and she'll post it on our Facebook page or Instagram page for you. I mentioned the related classes. The introduction to Google Apps, shows you all the stuff in the waffle icon, and creating collaboration using Google Tools is that class has been renamed. It's now called Sharing and Collaborating Using Google Tools. I need to update this slide. I'll show you in a couple of minutes how you can get to those classes. Right. So let's go to the closing, especially anyone that hasn't been in any classes before. I want to make sure you understand what happens after the class. So you'll get an email, and it has multiple sections in that email. There will be class notes, some takeaways, and there'll be some links in there as well to websites that will review some of the things we talked about, and also will have some related content that we didn't talk about in class. I'll also tell you the results of my experiment here in terms of that conversion back to Word. There'll be links to 3 other classes, and if you click one of those links in the email, it'll take you right to the registration page, so you can sign up for that class. So it's a nice shortcut, saves you a lot of clicks. There's a give feedback link, which opens our feedback form, very quick and easy. Only 2 questions. How do you rate the class? 1 to 5 stars. How do you rate the guide? 1 to 5 stars. There's a place to add comments as to why you gave us that rating, and then hit done and you're finished. So we hope you're enjoying Get Set Up and being a part of the community. And if you are, you can help us by spreading the word to friends and organizations you belong to, so they can be part of our community, take our free classes. And of course, the more people that are in the community, the more new classes we can develop. So it kind of helps us all. You can host interest groups and social groups. If you are interested in doing that, you can let us know via help@getsetup.io, that same email address. If there's a class you'd like to see us teaching, you can also let us know via that same email. And of course, as I said at the top of the class, this is how you also ask for a copy of the recording. Be sure to include the name of the class and the date you attended it. And the last link is to view schedule. That takes you to our website where you can book another class. I want to make sure everybody has found this link. It's in the center of the homepage, but this is where you can look at all the classes you've scheduled and that you're registered for. They'll be here under My Schedule. So you can just click on the link and go to that class. You don't have to keep the email. You can sign into the class straight from here. I think one of the easiest ways to find a class, if you know what you're looking for, is to just do a keyword search. So in this case, we were talking about that collaboration class. So you can just start typing it, and here it is, sharing and collaborating with Google. So I could click on that. And it'll take me to the page where I can sign up for that class. It's going to be on April 23rd at 12:30 Eastern time. I could book it from here. A couple of new things on the website that weren't in the old version of the website. If there's someone else you think would enjoy that class as well, you can tell a friend here. By clicking this, you can send them a link to this class. Maybe you want to take the class at the same time, and you could let them know, I'm going to be in this class. Why don't you come in, join the same class? You can send them a link via Facebook, WhatsApp, or just via email. Then they can click the link in the email, go straight to the registration page, saves them some time and effort getting to it. And the last thing that people have asked for that we've got now is if you go into a class, there's an About the Guide section, and Vicki actually teaches this class. So if you want to know more about Vicki, there's some information, but it's got this tab here, Other Classes I Teach. So if you're interested in seeing some other classes that Vicki teaches, it'll show you those classes as well. So if you want to take that Google Drive Basics class, which is another related class, we talked a lot about Google Drive today, you could click here and sign up for Vicki's Google Drive class. All right, so I got done 1 minute ahead of schedule. That's good for me. I do want to thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoyed the class and learned some things about Google Docs, and hope I see you again in another class really soon. Thanks for attending, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah,
Bye now.
yeah, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.